Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The Committee on Appropriation convenes this FY 2020 budget hearing for the Guam Community College. Budget hearing notice were given to the media on Monday, February 25th, 2019. Second notice on February 28th, Thursday. And for the record, today is Tuesday, March 5th. The time now is 9 o'clock. The Committee on Appropriation will hear and accept testimony pertaining to the Guam Community College. Joining me for this public hearing is Senator Will Castro and Senator Telo Taidegui. General rules for the budget hearing. The conduct of this budget hearing shall be as follows. Those testifying will be recognized in the order of sign up on the sign-in sheet. Written testimony may be read. Lengthy testimony should be summarized to about 5 minutes, but I'll allow the president and the chairman if they need additional time without any problem. I don't know about Mr. Meade, but we'll work with Barry. Written testimony shall be submitted to the committee. Please provide our legislative staff with your written testimony for photocopy. Testimony shall be confined to the substance. Persons will be allowed to present oral testimony only once. Once you are done, you may be asked to remain in the room for questions or for additional testimony, as may be desired by the members of the panel. When you speak, please make sure that you speak. Make sure the microphone is on and that you speak into the microphone. And then you state your name for the record. We will begin with the chairman, Mr. Frank Arreola, and then he'll be followed by Ms. Carmen Santos. Preferably, we will be followed by Dr. Okada. And then, if required, Ms. Santos and Mr. Topaz would follow, and then Mr. Meade. And before we begin, I want to I've asked the president if the increment is in the budget, and she said it's probably not. And if it isn't, I'd ask that the GC submit it, because we are seriously looking at finding means to restore increments to all GovCom agencies. You know, I honestly believe, number one, there's a tool in every agency that the agency should use, which is the evaluation to determine if an employee should get an increment or not, or a merit bonus. That we should leave to you. And I've noticed that on your budget requests, it's almost like similar to the budget of 2018. And with that said, if you could please resubmit your budget, adding the increments, so that we make sure that the employees are recognized for their hard work. And if they don't get an increment, it's because they didn't do their due diligence. All right? And we'll now begin with Mr. Chairman, Frank Arreola.
Thank you. OFB Senator Agustin, Senator Taidegui, Castro, Senator Castro, and Senator Moylan. Good morning. It is always a proud moment for me to come before you as chair of the GCC Board of Trustees to testify in favor of the Guam Community College fiscal year 2020 budget request of $19,285,975, which, as Senator Agustin mentioned, is at about the same or even less than the previous years. Through the years, the college has demonstrated its commitment to fiscal responsibility. In a few moments, you will see that the college takes the budget process and its fiduciary role quite seriously and continues to be a role model agency for the government of Guam. The Board of Trustees continues to ensure that the college operates in the most efficient way, ensuring that student success is paramount. We recognize that the challenges that many businesses face in recruiting employees that possess the skills to support their occupation needs. Our roles as trustees is to ensure that the college continues to seek support from its advisory committees to provide feedback for curriculum development and guidance to strengthen our career and technical education programs. As chairman for the Board of Trustees, I've seen the growth of the college over the years. Through its transformational efforts, the college continues to move in the direction of being the leader in career and technical workforce development, providing the highest quality student-centered education and job training for Micronesia. The campus is transforming into a modern facility of the 21st century. through all of its construction and renovation projects. The college is working on its enrollment because history tells us when the jobs are readily available, our enrollment in the post-secondary programs takes a slight decline. This is an issue that is not unique to GCC, for this is a national trend among community colleges across the nation. We continue to focus on reversing this slight decrease, providing more opportunities for residents to engage in career and technical education, such as offering year-round registration, dual credit opportunities, boot camps, as well as waiver placements to ensure that students complete their programs early and are able to seek employment as soon as they graduate from GCC. We all know that a high school diploma is no longer enough to be successful in a career. We want to lead the way in providing our island's workforce with prepared, competitive employees. It is surely in line with our mission. My fellow board members, Richard Sablon, Vice Chairman, Gina Ramos, Secretary, Eloy Hara, Treasurer, Deborah Ballinger, Carlo Leon Guerrero, members along with our student trustee, MJ Aloet, and I are confident that this budget request is what the college needs to move forward, maintaining our fiscal responsibility and ensuring the success of our students. I thank you for this opportunity to appear before the committee this morning and testify in favor of fiscal year 2020 budget requests from Guam Community College. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Okada, ma'am, Madam President. Before you begin, I'd like to also recognize additional colleagues that are here, and that's Senator Jim Moylan and Senator Jose Piru Terlai. Ma'am.
Buenas and half a day, Senator San Agustin and members of the 35th Guam Legislature. Senator Taidagui, thank you for joining. Senator Castro, Senator Moylan, Senator Terlahi. Sidus Maasi for giving me an opportunity to present the Guam Community College's fiscal year 2020 budget requests. As a leader in career and technical workforce development, providing the highest quality student-centered education and job training for Micronesia, it is indeed an honor to be before you this morning to share the various initiatives and opportunities that GCC can provide to support our island, our communities, and our people. Many times I think about the impact of the college's efforts. Let me start my presentation by sharing a few insights. On students, last year, GCC graduated a total of 407 students with 462 credentials. Among them were 370 students earning associate's or certificate degrees from various career and technical programs. 70 students completed their adult high school diploma or high school equivalency, and 20 students received their journey worker certificates in various occupational areas. In addition, we awarded certificates of completion to 360 high school students and 186 certificate of mastery under our career and technical education programs in the 6 high schools on island. On sustainability, GCC is committed to reducing its carbon footprint through its sustainability efforts. For fiscal year 2018, we have recycled 1,255 pounds of aluminum, 1,136.5 pounds of plastics, number 1 and number 2, 7,360 pounds of mixed and shredded paper, 1,100 pounds of food waste, and 1,285 pounds of green waste. In addition, we estimate approximately 12,902 12-ounce bottles of water were saved due to the use of our water bottle filling stations. GCC produced 189.496 megawatt hours, or 189,000 kilowatt hours of clean energy, of an approximate savings of 51,163, plus an additional savings of 22,652 for a total of $53,815 savings. This savings is reflected in our budget submission. As you can see, the impact that GCC has had on our community has been significant. In my view, every single success story is a significant contribution as it affects the lives of our community. This is our combined value to your investment. So what does it take to further increase or add value to what we do? One way is to continue to keep our tuition rates low. In our most recent accreditation report, the college was commended for keeping its tuition level since 2011. I want to thank everyone for making this possible. Another way is to strengthen the uniquenesses of our college. Where else do you experience the excellence in partnership between a K-12 system and a community college? What have we accomplished as partners? Since academic year 2013, the college has offered 1,442 certificates of completion and 908 certificates of mastery. That's a 5-year accumulated total. As I mentioned earlier, in 2018, GCC awarded 360 certificates of completion and 186 certificates of mastery. Think about that in terms of college savings for our parents. Think about the free college that we've been discussing for some time. I think we have a recipe for success in furthering this initiative. Dual credits, dual enrollments, alternatives to math and English placement tests, etc. These are all successful programs that the college has engaged with the Guam Department of Education. Our continued partnership will result in offering a pathway of free college through the early middle college platform. Wouldn't it be a wonderful feeling to take part and see the first high school graduates complete a certificate or an associate's degree the same year they complete from high school? I know that the faculty, administrators, staff, and the Board of Trustees will all celebrate this milestone. Honorable Senators, that is the value of our partnership. So now that I've added value to my testimony, let me continue with advocating and presenting the Guam Community College's fiscal year 2020 budget request of $19,285,975. While this request reflects an increase above our current year appropriation, it will bring the college back to realize funding levels that have previously been appropriated, or at least close to it. GCC currently employs 254 team members to support career and technical education in the 6 GDOE high schools plus post-secondary programs. Team GCC is the reason that the college earned full accredited status for 7 years in our most recent accreditation visit. Our team is the best in fiscal responsibility, and our track record supports this claim. Our hardworking and dedicated employees are the reason the college continues to garner the designation of a low-risk auditee for 17 years, and soon to be 18 years. I can proudly say that because they all support student success through the years. They are innovators, strategic thinkers, team players, and definitely resilient. They have embraced sustainability and transformational change, focusing on students first and mission always. They are currently engaged in succession planning on many fronts, as we all know that new levels of leadership and organizational support are needed for the next generation of Government of Guam workers. GCC will soon celebrate another ribbon-cutting event to showcase the completion of the renovation of Building 100. Transforming our campus into the 21st Community College is in our midst. Little by little, we will continue our construction progress, searching for every funding opportunity to do so. Building 100, that will be our 6th renovated building. Building 300, that's number 7, currently under construction. DNA Forensic Lab, that's number 8. So where's number 9? That is the Facility Maintenance and Wellness Center, designed complete and going out to bid this academic year. And let's not forget number 10, the renovation of Building B at the front of the campus that is currently under design for renovation and expansion to include our Student Success Center. So, what's in store for the Guam Community College for the years ahead? GCC is currently updating its institutional strategic master plan. In August of 2018, our process began with the 2018 fall convocation with the theme, Beyond Accreditation, Strategic Thinking for 2025. The initial brainstorming sessions involved the leaders of the college, followed by our campus-wide assembly in November, entitled Envisioning GCC's Future by Design, the process for imagining GCC in 2026, planning framework and thematic categories, provided the opportunity to hear the voices from our campus community. This process will conclude in the upcoming months. One of the greatest opportunities for the college is to support transformational change for the government of Guam. GCC is positioned and ready to lead many of these initiatives, including upskilling our government workers, providing customer service training, and expanding program offerings in technology-related fields and programs. We can prepare for the jobs we have now, the jobs in the future, and even the jobs that we don't even know about yet. Let's start thinking about GCC leading the efforts for industry professionalization through a workforce approach by optimizing our credentialing and getting more residents through educational programs. Let's not think of the lack of H-2B workers as a challenge, but rather as an opportunity to skill up our residents for these jobs. This needs to be a simultaneous conversation, not one that stands alone. I humbly ask that if an opportunity for revenue expansion arises, that you consider allocating a nominal amount of funding to support our Skill Up initiative. The returns on this investment are profitable in that it provides opportunities for those who would not otherwise consider obtaining a credential or professional certification to advance them in their respective careers. As my final comment, I would like to thank you all for your support for the Guam Community College throughout the years. As you can see, we have continued our commitment to provide quality education to our island community. As we continue to strengthen our programs and facilities, I ask for your support for the Guam Community College fiscal year 2020 budget in the amount of $19,285,975. This will move the college to the next stage of successes, innovations, and investments in our people that will lead to a better quality of life for our families on island. Sidu Usmaasi.
Thank you, Dr. Okada. I'd like to also recognize joining us today is Senator Amanda Shelton, the Oversight Chair for UG and GCC. We have now Ms. Carmen Santos. Do you have something you wanted to present, or Dr. Okada did a great job? Fred, Topaz, nothing? Okay. Sir, Mr. Eloy, no? Okay. Frank did his part. Mr. Meade. Yes, Barry, please.
Of all places, I didn't expect to be this morning. Excuse me. Let me preface what I'm going to say by saying that currently, Fred Tupaz is still in class. So, oh, is he here?
Yeah, he's back there. I meant Dr. Ray Samara. Sorry, sir.
Okay, Fred's here. So, just let me say this, that I'm here because Fred asked me to be here as the GCC Faculty Union representative as identified under PEMRA for GCA Chapter 10. So don't everybody get mad. First, I'd like to, because of what the President was speaking to, I'd just like to reinforce the fact that in 1988, when I first went to work at the college, tuition was $5. and the budget was almost the same as what she's asking for today. If I'm not mistaken, the per credit cost is $150 today? $130. $130? Cool, so $130, but it's less. And I know that there was a request recently by one of the programs that they needed to increase the lab fees. That program was a program that when it was developed was entirely paid for out of the NAF. And the reason it was paid out of NAF is because the college was not given the budget to support it. And that happens to be one of the most successful, I like to say, programs at the college today, starting its 18th cycle of students, meaning they've had over 600 students in that program. When the president spoke to the high school certificates and the certificate of masteries, in 1988, there were 700 students roughly enrolled at GCC as a VOTEC high school. Today, almost that number of students as seniors received all those certificates. There's over 2,000, and I haven't kept up with the numbers, but I know for a fact there's over 2,000 students in high school today taking courses taught by GCC faculty in GCC programs that, as the president said, relates to college credits. Most of the programs, students can gain 9 credits, and I believe in one program 15 credits for the work they're doing in high school already. So these programs have begun, but what stymies them is the fact that for years the college has been underfunded. It's that simple. When you speak to having free college, it's not free. Somebody's going to pay the 254 employees. And if you look at the budget, that's what this budget is doing. It's either the budget or it's grants or other sort, NAF, that is paying for the college. What this lady right here does, I've told her, is a miracle. How she funnels the money to get it where it needs to go and see to it that all the employees get a check every 2 weeks is short of a miracle, honestly. We at one time, prior to the president being the president, had about $4.5 million in reserves. But because of the continuous underfunding, and I'll just say failure of entities to support the college, those reserves are gone. They no longer exist. Tobacco funds and other funds, they no longer exist. They were used to make payroll. And remember this, what drives the college? It's students. No students, no faculty, no administration. All go home. And you can abandon all the buildings that have been built over the last 10 years. You can abandon the solar power that's on the roofs and the Green Award winner, energy awards. You can abandon all of that. The programs that are at the college were developed, in essence, to keep our kids on this island, to help this island be productive. A culinary student goes off island, $50,000 a year. $50,000 a year. A culinary student stays on Guam, total tuition and fees is roughly $17,000. Actually, it's a little less. About $2,500 a semester. Makes it $10,000. And they get to live at home. They don't have to pay for room and board. And they don't have to get homesick and spend $1,500 for a round-trip airplane ticket every 6 months. And that's what this college does. We look at different things that say we need to look more at developing our young people today in order to get a job. One of the things that goes around Facebook is a picture of a 4-year college graduate with a $75,000 debt and a person who graduated with a CTE of some sort of degree earning $17.50 an hour or more. That's what this college does. So in light of that, and I wanted to say that before we bring up the issues that the faculty have, or that Fred and I discussed with Senator Shelton yesterday, is the fact that I love GCC. I hated it when I retired. I went back and taught classes afterwards. I'm not retired. I work with the faculty all the time. And that's why I'm here today, because I work with the faculty all the time. And you alluded to it, Senator St. Augustine, in your opening comments when you talked about increments. The downside to everything that I said good is that since 2013, the faculty have in one way or another been denied, delayed, or because of gubernatorial mandates, not received their increments. Now understand, GCC faculty are, one, they're not paid on the regular government of Guam payroll schedule. And number two, they're not classified employees. They and the faculty at UOG are separate from the entire government of Guam in any way, shape, or form. They have no civil service rights. They only have the agreement between their union and the Board of Trustees and the Board of Regents. Well, in that agreement is that the faculty will do, and the President and I worked this out years and years and years ago, to where, I forgot what we called it, performance-based evaluations. So faculty have the opportunity to having anywhere from a 1%, if they're satisfactory, to a 4% increment annually if they reach what's called exceptional. This is no fly-by-night evaluation. It's 7-8 pages long. And it deals with their classroom work, but it also deals with other work that helps accomplish everything that the President just spoke of. Programs are written and developed by faculty and supported by the administration. And this administration is supported by y'all and today. And if the administration isn't supported, then they have choices to make. And unfortunately, one of those choices was faculty increments, because they are not minuscule, and they are annually. And I can speak from personal knowledge of the fact, because of those increments and because of the payroll, I make $10,000 a year more in retirement money. So do the math backwards. But when you stop giving those or paying those and the faculty keep doing the performance, that affects not only the faculty's current payroll, but affects their long term, especially if they're under the old plan, and some still are. In the last budget, there was a word used, progressive. And I'm not really, Fred can elaborate on what that word means, and I know there's a conversation as to what does that mean? The increments will be progressive. I'm progressive. I'm not a liberal, but I'm progressive. But what does that mean? We don't know. We can go get the faculty's attorney, and we get the college's attorney, and we can go get the AG, and we can all define, you know, that's like instructional time. We're trying to define that with DOE today. What is instructional time? The faculty and the administration have worked collaboratively for years in the preparation of the budget. And for years, there has been concessions. And at some point in time, as I said, since 2013, this has been a problem, an ongoing problem. Last year, the problem began when the governor decided, and the legislature, I think you all passed a bill that said, okay, no increments, no pay raises, no hiring, no this, no that. Okay, fine. The problem therein lies is that that ends on September 30th. GCC faculty increments all fall on the same day, August 1st. So by saying the freeze is in place until September 30th, faculty again will forego an increment, and it's reflected in the budget, until 8/1/2020. Now for me, there's a simple solution to that. Change the date of the increment. The Board of Trustees did it before. When we got off the Government of Guam pay scale, it was decided, and I was part of that decision, that all faculty would all have the same increment date. It was sweet. It made it simple, especially on HR. But the problem with that is we should have made it October 1st instead of August 1st. It was August 1st because beginning of the school year. And that's a problem that DOE has too. School years don't end or begin in line with the fiscal year that's budgeted. And the simple solution could be, as I said, change the date on the budget submitted by GCC to increments on October 1st of 2019. Because otherwise, that means that the faculty, because of a 1-year freeze, ends up getting 2 years freeze. And those on the old scale, the old retirement plan, that's a lot of money that goes to their retirement since it's based on the high 3, and these last 2 years would have been part of that 3. And that doesn't only affect faculty. I've watched the support staff of the college go through a 10% pay cut. They get Fridays off without pay. And it's continuous, continuous, continuous. And these are people that, for some of you I know, teach your children. Just like DOE. They teach all our children, but they don't have any textbooks. I'm not coming this afternoon, dude. I can't deal with that. So that's pretty much it. There was some highlights that I showed to Carmen about the increments as they're stated in the budget, not reflecting the 1%, the 4% that it could be. But there is another concern. Currently, if I'm not mistaken, on the budget, there are 18 faculty listed as LTA. Some of them have been there for more than this year, more than last year. These 18, 14, whatever the number, are positions that are full-time, that are FTEs. I remember a time when if a department came in here to the legislature and had a whole bunch of LTEs or unfilled FTEs, they wrote them off the staffing pattern. You can't do that with GCC. But these LTAs are filling FTEs. Why aren't they being hired into it as an FTE? Because the college isn't sure they're going to get the money next year. And a lot of these faculty are the ones that are out providing the 540 certificates to our high school students. One thing that the legislature and others have always not understood. When GCC got out of the high school business on the campus and put all the programs into the high school, the number of students went up, the faculty went up, but the college was never, if you will, reimbursed. DOE doesn't pay for that. GCC does. DOE doesn't buy the equipment. GCC does. DOE doesn't provide the foodstuffs for the ProStart program. GCC does. And I know it's reflected in some way. And I remember one time speaking to a former president, I said, well, you know, you're going to have budget problems. I hope that DOE understands that if they take over VOCAD, and Senator Castro's aware of this, it's going to cost them a fortune. They don't get the budget to begin with. How are they going to fund these programs? They're not. They're not going to fund them. So continue to underfund the college, and eventually, the bottom line will be hit. We all speak, I was guilty when I ran for this office too. We all support education. This is the most easiest way for you to do that. Give the president what she asked for. Matter of fact, tack on a couple more million while you're at it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Meade. Mr. Topaz, did you want to speak?
Yes, sir, Mr.
All right.
Chairman. Thank you so much. Before speaking, I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank Senator Shelton for meeting with us yesterday. But I think most importantly, I just kind of like to paraphrase a little bit of what our labor consultant had stated for the record here. We're all under the same goal and objective. As you heard from our Madam President, you heard of all the successes that GCC has achieved over the years, but it hasn't been without the hard work and dedication of the faculty as well as the staff, as well as the administrators with the oversight of the board. We're a very collaborative organization. We've worked really well with each other. Under the President's leadership, we've been able to, like Barry had mentioned, accomplish some miracles at the college. And it's important for us to understand here with this body, a lot of you senators had spoke about education and the platform of how important it is. Education is important to any economic system, not because of the things that we teach the students, but because of the awareness that we create for the students. As we create the awareness for them that they can see beyond what they see of themselves, it allows them to go out and create a community that can achieve even greater potential in the work that we do as a community. GCC is the leader in career and technical education through a lot of the work that we do. Community colleges throughout the nation are actually the backbone of a lot of the workforces in the nation. In every single organization, there's a lot of people that have gone to legacy colleges and things like that, but the workers come from community colleges. And it's important for us to understand that. Our senators have spoken on numerous occasions about the importance of education, yet every year we receive underfunded budgets from what we've asked for. And again, the college has done an extreme, excellent job of making sure that we've accomplished our mission. We're asking this body today to really take into account and really consider what we've set forth in front of you today. We're asking you to look at the amount of funding that is there, and to understand and recognize that while the economy is in a period of prosperity right now, there's going to be a contraction sooner or later. And it's our college, our institution, that's going to be preparing these individuals for that economic contraction. And it's important for us to understand and realize that we need to fund these programs, because we're not planning for today. Today's already come and gone. We're planning for our future, our island's future. And this is what's important for us, is, as the President had alluded to, we're already preparing our students for jobs that don't even exist yet. We're looking at the technologies, and we're looking at the curriculum, and we're looking at how can we continue to progress. And a lot of the progression that our island has achieved if you go to any educational, or if you go to any organization on the island and you ask where were these students educated at, a lot of them will tell you from Guam Community College, through our apprenticeship programs, through all of our various programs throughout the college. They'll tell you that they've come from GCC, whether they've done it through actual enrollment or whether they've done it through our continuing education program. It's the same thing with UOG, but the difference between us and UOG is that we focus on career and technical education. We're the experts. A lot of us that are there are still in the industry and continue to do work in the industry and we bring that expertise into the classroom. And so what we're asking you guys to do today is to really look at what's before you. We've looked at it from a faculty perspective, and while we agreed that there was no increments because we agreed that there was no increments put into this budget only because of the budget law from last year, 34-116. And we said that we would follow the law, and we would work collaboratively with the administration to get this budget passed, so that we can come here today to present it to you guys, with the caveat that we clarify the term from 34-116 of prospectively paid, because I think that's the hang-up, not just for us, but for everyone else that's affected by that particular budget. If we can get a determination on exactly what prospectively paid means, then I think that that'll allow us to move forward across the board. Because as of today, there's several differences of opinions in terms of what the particular term means and how that affects the overall budget, both for 2019 as well as 2020. Our faculty understands the importance of contributing our part and doing our share to reducing the costs at the college, because we don't want to raise the cost of education to our students. We feel that that's more important, and we feel that their success is our success, and so we want to make sure that that we continue in that vein. And so I asked this legislative body today, this committee, to really take a look at it and really hold the line in terms of reducing any expenditure, any cuts in our budget, only because it's going to have an adverse impact on our institution, but more importantly on our students. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tupas. Madam President, do you have any comments you want to make in reference to any of the statements that were made so far by the presenters?
So I would just like to offer a few corrective comments. And so through the consolidated grant that is administered by the Guam Department of Education, funding to support many of the high school career and technical education programs is there. There is some funding that is available through the college, but there is the supplemental funding that is under the consolidated grant administered by GDOE. So there's two parts to the funding for high schools. In terms of how we interpreted the prospectively applied in terms of increments, prospectively applied means that the increment is frozen until your next increment date. Although we understand that in the preparation of the budget, the staff, which is under the civil service, were to be slotted as of October 1st, 2019. So the staff in the current budget is placed on October 1st where they should have been had their increments not been frozen. Okay, so Barry is correct in that faculty adjustments or faculty increments are provided on August 1st. Administrators are, on the other hand, are provided on January 1st. And they're all done at the same time because of how we have our performance-based evaluation. Faculty just recently got their increments in August of 2018. So their next increment date technically would have been August of 2019. So prospectively applying that increment, the next increment date would mean August of 2020. Okay, if we were to place them on October 1st, then there would be a parity presented to the board where the administrators had not received their increment on January 1st. So there's a parity issue as to when increments become and how to share in that in that restoration of increments. And that's the reason why in the current budget, faculty would be, increments have been slotted on August 1st of 2020, and administrators, their increment would have shown in January 1st of 2020. And that's how we applied for administrators and faculty. So that's just so that you understand how the budget was developed. But staff under the Civil Service Commission followed being placed on October 1st, where they should have been October 1st of 2019.
Thank you, Dr. Okada. I leave your budget preparation, whatever you've discussed with the board, and I'll just take that at face value and leave it alone. Because you're the folks that are on the ground. I'm not on the ground. I need to take a look at just at the picture, then move from there and find ways to support the Guam Community College, which you guys are the outstanding institution. I have no problem with you folks. Also joining us today was Senator Sabina Perez and Senator Mary Torres. I would ask the oversight chair of GCC if she have any questions, ma'am, to start first.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for making the time to come down and present your budget. Thank you all for the individual meetings that we've had over the past several weeks. And I just wanted to ask to Dr. Okada, currently the budget appropriates from the general fund to GCC operations, and it's all specific amounts for the LPN program, $25,000 to ProStar, then to the apprenticeship program for manpower development, and to the GCC Capital Improvements Fund, and it's all separated. Would it be helpful for the budget to be lump sum to GCC instead of for specific programs? Would that offer you more flexibility in your budget?
In terms of the general fund appropriations, I would say yes. And the reason why I say is because, as an example, when you appropriate specifically to the LPN and the vocational guidance program, there's going to be some point where the salaries or the funding necessary to support that is not going to be enough because you've got it as a set-aside amount. So the request that I had when I did meet with you is to actually fold that into the general fund as a lump sum budget so that we can manage it better instead of having separate pockets of funding specifically for that reason. The capital improvement funds, for example, though, those are the fundings, that's the funding needed to pay debt service on the USDA loan that support the construction for building 100 and the DNA forensic lab. So that, of course, is a separate funding source, I believe, through the TEFF currently, and we ask for that to remain in whole because it is debt service. And so when cuts are made, we ask not for the debt service amount not to be cut because the debt doesn't go away and the funding would still be necessary. And then on the general fund, manpower development fund, yes, because there's a component of faculty that we charge to the manpower to support the apprenticeship program out of Fund 1. And so if you just consolidate it again for easier management of the funding, we ask that it remain, all the general fund appropriations be a lump sum as opposed to allocating specific amounts. And then for the special funds like the Manpower Development Fund, the TAF fund, or the TEFF associated with the debt service, for those to remain separate.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that helps my colleagues and I better understand where you need flexibility in your budget. So thank you, Dr. Okada.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd ask Senator Tello Tadiwi, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, and good morning to my colleagues, and especially good morning to GCC. I've been in awe of you, Mary, from day one, you know, and all the good things that you've done at GCC. And behind every woman, there's a great staff and board that supports you and your efforts. So I greatly appreciate it. Just a real quick question. Your allotments, how are they coming in? How are your allotments?
They're coming in. However, in the current, so far for the fiscal year, we have received approximately $4.4 million, and that equates to about 48% of the requested drawdown. But we have been, and we continue to receive the money from the Department of Administration on a weekly basis, and I have been in conversation with the director on trying to get us caught up a little bit.
Right, what is it? So you're 48% only?
Of the requested amount. So we have a requested amount of approximately 9.3, and we've received about 4.4.
Wow.
But we are receiving money every week.
Okay.
There was just a hiccup at the beginning of the year that kind of dragged it a little bit, so we're just trying to get caught up on that, in that regard.
Okay, well, I wish you luck on that, and it's just keep knocking on the door of, you know, BBMR and those guys to help you out there. And I hope it improves. I see now the flexibility, it's important because of that you requested earlier, so the allotments are the one that hold you back. Buenas, good morning, Mr. Topaz. Okay, also, I noticed on the equipment section of the budget, you went from 26,600 and you're requesting now for 271,000. That's a big jump. What is that attributed to?
Well, that's primarily because the amounts that were authorized in fiscal year 19, because of the budget that we received in 19, we almost literally had to take out all of equipment, all of supplies funded out of the general fund. So this kind of restores it back to levels to support the operations of the college.
Okay, you did the same thing in your supplies then. That's what the big jump is there too as well.
That's correct.
Okay, and last question I have is the Skill Up. What is the dollar amount for that one to support it?
You know, so the Skill Up I talk about really has to do with, so we know even with our most recent accreditation visit, in 2012, when we had the exit review for our accreditation visit, we had a discussion with the staff that at that time, by the next accreditation visit in 2018, that 25% of our staff would be eligible to retire. Oh. So you think about the government of Guam workers right now that are currently in their positions, and you have to factor in how many of those workers do we have, how many of the 10,000 workers in the government of Guam are gearing up for retirement, and what are we doing about it? What are we doing about it? So the dollar value associated with that really depends on what the needs are for the respective agencies. But I think it's time for us to do that now, so that as the institutional knowledge goes, that you have people who are trained for those next levels of promotions. Because you can't have a workforce that has all entry-level positions. It's not going to be successful. So we need to start working on that now, and I think GCC is best positioned to do that, to offer credentials, to offer stackable credentials, to get employees currently in the government of Guam ready for that next promotion. If you're an accountant 1, get ready for the accountant 2. If you're a computer tech 1, get ready for computer tech 2. Or if you're because the college has moved to the cloud. We're moving to the cloud now. So we're not going to require having a physical servers on our campus. But that requires a different skill set. So how do we retool those employees that we have that did that work into the jobs that they're going to be transitioning into? But we need to act now. We can't wait for the mass exodus for the government of Guam. And I think GCC is positioned to do that. So an inventory of all the all the workers in the government of Guam and what's going to be necessary for them to move forward, I think is needed now.
Thank you so much, and I greatly appreciate your foresight into the future, and that's exactly what we need. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Tello. I'd ask Senator Torres. I'm going to finish up with the women senators first before I get to the men. Thank you.
Cesar Smosty, Mr. Chairman. President Ocala, I was wondering as I'm reading your testimony, do you have data on the number of high school graduates on Guam that actually go on to earn higher degrees on Guam? We often talk about high school retention and high school graduation, but I'm wondering what that pool of citizens seeking higher education looks like. And as you're looking for that information, if it is available, I think one of the concerns that we have too, and the need to support an institution that is so focused on workforce development and technical training, so that there is a sustainability component on Guam. I find your free college concept very interesting also, and relevant in terms of how do we get enough of our people into either higher education or into positions where they can be skilled and gainfully employed on Guam. So if you have that information, I think that that's relevant too in terms of what our mission is as a community college, and what our priorities ought to be as policymakers developing the budgets for institutions.
I would have to get that information to you, Senator Torres.
Okay. Yeah, my point here is that I think that we have to understand not only how many of our graduating students are going on to further education, but how we can incentivize, in working with GCC, incentivize people to get degrees or certifications, either certificates or associate degrees, either upon graduation from high school or to seek additional further education. And I think that focus, I think, is not only relevant and admirable, but is precisely smart at this time in Guam's development. And I just want to commend you for that effort. And I think it would be a good discussion point later on to see how successful we are at capturing the importance and imparting the importance of gaining a certificate, a skill, or a degree from our local institutions.
So Senator Torres, I know that we are stepping up our efforts to reach students who have completed their Certificate of Mastery, because again, with the Certificate of Mastery, any of those students can earn anywhere from 3 credits in post-secondary to 19 college credits. 19 college credit right now is with the telecom program that we have over at Teason High School. So that's a semester, more than a semester of college already. And so then one of the other initiatives that we're considering is, for example, students that were enrolled in in secondary education, for whatever reason they couldn't finish the program. We're thinking of offering some type of credit recovery so that they can still realize, because we don't currently do that. So the more students we can offer a Certificate of Mastery, and then again, it's educating not just the student that you've got this opportunity, but educating their parents to say, this is a free opportunity to start in high school so that you can continue on through post-secondary. And so we're launching our commitment to offering more options for students through credit recovery and through informational or outreach sessions for these students.
May I add to that information, Senator? Right now, we have launched our first cohort of early middle college, which is an offshoot of our program called DCAPS, or Dual Credit Articulated Programs of Study. So our high school programs are articulated with college courses. So we had their student learning outcomes align. We had instructors sit down together within our secondary faculty and our post-secondary faculty, and what they did was to have the same student learning outcomes for the same courses. That's why they are given college credit. But that is for our career and technical education programs, and we have a program also called DEAL, which is dual enrollment articulated dual enrollment accelerated program, which is for math and English. So as an offshoot of the DCAPS program, we have launched our first cohort of our early middle college. And so for the first cohort, we began in fall, and we had about 18 students from George Washington High School. We started with one high school, which is because of the transportation issue. So we brought in their parents and made them commit that if their kids enter this particular program, then they will have the potential to earn college credits. So they already finished one semester. Out of the 18, I think there are about 13 left for various reasons. It's difficult sometimes to motivate kids, so they have to do wrap-around services with them, and that's done after school. So now we have 13 that just completed 6 college credits and are slated to earn another 6 or 9 after the spring semester. So that's way ahead, and that's potential ready for them. That would be free college credits for them as soon as they finish. And that's in construction trades, because that's the highest need at this time. We are also thinking of expanding this program to other high schools and possibly include allied health and telecommunications.
Excellent. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Sabina Pérez, ma'am.
I'm really impressed with the work that GCC has done as far as being progressive and proactive and responsive to the community's needs. I myself was a teacher at Simon Sanchez High School, and I've seen the good work that GCC has done with our student population there. And I do encourage more expansion of the services that you provide with the dual enrollment program. I think that'd be very helpful for our students. So yes, thank you so much for your commitment and dedication to our community. And I think a career technical education is something that we really need to expand here on Guam. If we want a diversified economy, we need a diversified education system. So yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. And on my left, I'll start with Senator Castro.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When you were the previous oversight chair, I would usually defer from commenting and allow you to speak for me. But being that we have been at opposite sides of the aisle and have a difference of opinion on many things these days, I'll go ahead and enter my support for the college. First of all, you know, the college, in my opinion, Mr. Chairman, has come a long way. Special thanks to the chairman, the president, your very competent staff. I do want to highlight my appreciation for your commitment to the continued process of improvement and planning. I noted the upgrade to the technology master plan. I'll follow up with Mr. Camacho if I can get a copy of that from your organization. But also, I do appreciate your commitment to modernization. I understand that you upgraded that archaic, well, in my interpretation, similar in the line agencies, we have a data processing manager at the college, and you had something similar, but they upgraded it to a CITO, so I appreciate that, always upgrading the position descriptions. I do want to share a personal experience I had, and if it weren't for friends who work for you, I wouldn't have had a better reason to be there, but it was an enlightening experience for me. So I went to your cosmetology lab, and I can't tell you how impressed I was. Yes, Mr. Chairman, you're signaling me, I'm overdue for a haircut. And I couldn't help but be impressed with the facility. You're talking about state-of-the-art equipment, the highest standards of professional care, people like Janice Uggan, who's there. And I was asking this gentleman about his career path. And contrary to maybe, at least my assumption, this is not an individual who was coming out fresh out of high school looking to be a barber or a stylist or a cosmetologist, whatever the appropriate term would be. This is a professional fireman in the federal workforce who's simply pursuing his passion, but wanted that professional credential. And I asked him, you know, what is the upside to this industry? And, you know, in conversation with him and others there, you know, there is no shortage. And Joseph Cameron, I had to go back and validate, and I don't think Joseph Cameron's quite done with being a stylist, but he also validated that the industry constantly improves and is in need of credentialed personnel. And I guess to sum it up, my point would be, Madam President, that aside from looking at those traditional positions like construction or other positions in the vocation or the trades, I really think you serve an important role, and I saw it firsthand in inspiring others to pursue their passion, but is actually income producing. And so by doing that, you're helping the economy and the local workforce by improving the capacity of our people who are providing these services. So I want to thank you for that. A couple more notes. You know, I'm just getting really familiar with the budget and things we like to do up here down here at the legislature. And, you know, I went through the details, and it's small. I mean, when you're talking decamillions here, but I noticed things like ISTE, you know, and as a teacher, I remember going to ISTE, that's the International Society for Technology and Education, or something like that. It was so important to be there among other professionals from throughout the world. So I thank you for subscribing, hopefully sending your professionals there to bring home these ideas, because you don't know what you don't know. So that's a sound investment, Madam President, thank you for that. Also, your commitment to upgrading your technology infrastructure, things like your routers and your hubs, I see that as well. Mr. Chairman, I'll close with a couple comments. First, I want to highlight that the college's impact is not just relegated to the local community. I can speak firsthand about their direct impact upon regional institutions like the Northern Manners College and other entities in times of need or even in times of collaboration for future prosperity. I thank you, Dr. Sumer, for your commitment to continuous improvement, as we talked about, through self-study and accreditation, but also, Madam President, for taking the initiative to work with institutions that need that technical assistance. And so, again, Mr. Chairman, this is a sound investment in the community. I haven't seen an institution that does such a good job at, putting their money where their mouth is. They highlighted in their letter here their commitment to sustainable growth and to preserving the environment and reducing their carbon footprint. So you didn't just talk the talk by building these great buildings, you're actually practicing recycling and other meaningful uses of disposing of trash properly. And so with that said, Mr. Chairman, I think this is one of the best institutions with a significant return on investment, both on Guam and throughout the region. So thank you. You have my full support.
Thank you, Senator. I don't know what he's talking about. We're on the opposite side. I think he's been reading my notes. That's what he's been talking about. But anyway, I'll go with Senator Jim Moylan now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman there. And thank you for your presentation, Doctor, and Chairman of the Board and members of the committee. Thank you so much for presenting your 2020 budget plan. And I'm glad we had that tour. You invited us new senators up there, and you took us for a little tour. It helps me understand a lot. We had a little talk, I think, about that increase in business privilege tax and how that kind of raised the price of flour for the culinary students, but how you were able to not pass that price down to the students to save their tuition. So that just actually says a lot about how you're able to keep this school going with the limited budget that you do have. I'm a product of GCC too. I went there for a couple of classes. I took a typing class, and how technology has changed. I don't know if it was the manual one that you slapped that return on, or it could have been the IBM one where you change your little wheel thing there. But how things have changed with technology. I also had a class with criminal law with Judge Abati at that time, and I had to sit up close because I could hardly hear that guy. But he was a great teacher, but both of those lessons I learned, and I use those today. So to use your words, I did value my investment very much there. So thank you for that. I've seen that campus really grow, those old buildings that I was in. I used to enjoy the rain hitting the tin roof, but then it also leaked. But now the campus is just so beautiful. You have these other buildings coming on up, and it's going to look terrific. And with your institutional strategic plan, that's a great vision. I like the term beyond accreditation, where we're going to go from there. And I was hoping, of course, we're being involved in the transition report, but I can see where you are applying what you talked about in your transition report with what you want to do for the school, from upskilling our government workers, which we need, to customer service training, which was a big thing in that transition report, and technology as well. So I'm happy to see that. So I guarantee you I will consider allocating whatever I can for the amount of fundings to skill up our workers. And I'll probably be back to the campus soon, now that I know about that cosmetology school and how Senator Castro gets these great smile and everything going. So I'm looking forward to visiting again soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Moylan. Senator Terlai. Pidu.
Good morning, Madam President, and with all the staff. I just wanted to say that the standard of performance based on your testimony here is very impressive. But I just wanted to bring up, I chair the Committee on Public Safety. And that, Madam Chairman and Madam President, the main problem that we have with the Guam Police Department is the retention. And I guess, when I was going to college, they mentioned that the motivating factor for any working environment is the satisfaction of your work site. But I just wanted to bring up something here that I have planned, as far as the Belaya, and I didn't see anything mentioned on the Belaya program that you have. But what I wanted to do, since the retention is the problem, maybe we can increase the salaries of police officers. But what I wanted to do to get that 5 points for people that are graduating under the Belaya program with that of the initial police training. And I know that education and fiscal fitness is the two courses that needs to be part of that. But I'm wondering if we do extend the Belaya training and merge that with the police training for at least 6 months, and then upon graduation from the Belaya with the police training, would that increase the budget of the GCC?
So currently there are different ways that the college has been providing the workforce for law enforcement. So we have a supplemental academy. The supplemental academy are students who wish to enter law enforcement that use their individual financial means to pay for it, whether it be through federal financial aid or whether it just be out of their pocket. That's one. The second one is when the agency hires these individuals as part of a cohort, and then they are apprenticed and they access through the Manpower Development Fund as an occupational area to support Police Officer 1. So one is self-paid and the other one is paid through MDF. So in both instances, students get trained. Okay, so increasing the budget of GCC for this area, and the answer is no. Does it increase? No, because it's out of the Manpower Development Fund, which has well, right now it's, the money is slowly trickling in, and some of the money is appropriated to us through the general fund. So that's still continuing the support. The 5 points, though, however, is if you identify students that have already received the education, not through the Manpower Development Fund, but have already received the education as a selective factor in the initial employment of the cohort, then you'll have all these folks that have already gone through the cohort, have gone through the program, and then they would only have to, the police department would only have to fund the police-specific areas that are not covered specifically in the supplemental academies. So that should reduce the amount of training that is necessary for these folks because they're already trained.
So if we expand the number of months for the Belaya and merging out with the initial police training, would that be appropriate to really just give that 5 points to the initial entry test for people that are graduating from the Belaya and the initial police training?
So you can do it one of two ways. You can give them the additional 5 points, or you can identify it as a selective factor to identify those folks who already have the training prior to their employment.
Because, several months ago, the real controversy that's coming out from the promotion on the police promotion, right, is that, the veterans are getting the 5 points to every promotion level that they go through. And, some of the police officers that were in there for like 10 years is overpassed by veterans that only served for 3 years. So I'm trying to equalize, in the promotion system whereby we can give maybe, if a police officer served for 5 years, maybe we can give them that 5 points. And then again, I talked to the administrator of your post, the police standard training under the Act. So I'm still working on this, but I want to get the insight of all those involved, like, for example, the Department of Administration, the police chief, and GCC. If we're not, we can materialize the the program as such and expand it for 6 months, and then maybe even before they take the initial test for police officers, do you think we can give them that 5 points, or maybe after they pass the test? Which one is the right way?
Yeah, so if you give them 5 points as a preference, 5 points for their hiring, then that means the additional workers that you bring in that don't have, I'm just trying to think, giving 5 points versus going through the police academy funded by the apprenticeship program, because at the end they're all going to have the same qualifications at the end. So I'm wondering if it should be additional 5 points or if it should be a selective factor. And maybe that's where the conversation with HR folks, that we probably just need to figure out what might be the best, what might be the best way to do that.
Yeah, but we're trying to solidify the promotion points here, because even people with master's degree or Bachelor of Art, Bachelor of Science don't get that 5 points. Yeah. So we're in the examination process on if or not we can just award those that have master's degree and entering the police department. But of course, the BELEA is a required training for you to get into the law enforcement field. So we're just making that research, and I'll be in contact with the administrator for post. I've talked to them already. Some of the people that are interested in that regards, as far as that 5 points. But one thing for sure, we will not and never will we kind of just lower the standard of a police officer.
Understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Lai. Dr. Okada, I have a few questions. Real simple. It's not about the school. It's about money, how it's coming from the administration. You mentioned you got 48% of your drawdown. Is that for up to this date? You've got 48 total, 48%? Because you mentioned 4.4 million. I'm just curious to know, in the past 5 months, have you been getting 4.5? I mean, what is the percentage that you've received up to this date?
So as of March 1st, the total collection we have for all of the funds appropriated was $4.4 million.
4.4?
Yeah, since October 1st to now, the accumulated amount that we've received is 4.4 million.
And you should have gotten 9.2, correct?
9.2 includes the amount that we, based on the allotment schedule for March.
Okay, so I'm gonna safely assume that with this new administration, you're working out with a better allotment program, right? Better allotment amount?
Yes, because gone are the days where it's 25%.
Good, thank you. You have 3 new positions you're requesting in FY 2020, correct? Or I have, you have some current vacancy positions, and I'm just curious to know where you're at so far. And I know it all depends on the funds that you get, but how successful have you been able to start fill the vacancies?
So you're talking about the current vacant positions that are in the budget?
Correct.
So the environmental safety officer has been filled. The post commission was just recently vacated, so we have not started a recruitment on that yet. I'm looking for possibly an alternative way to do that. And then once we get the approval for our LPN program, associate's degree through the Guam Board of Nursing, we will be putting out the announcement for the 2 nursing faculty.
Okay. You know, Senator Tello, I think she was also looking at my notes. reference to the supplies and materials, you have an increase, and you've already explained that on your equipment. We'll move to, in this current fiscal year, you're suffering a 20% reduction in allotment of cash, correct? From DOA, or is it more?
Say it again, I'm sorry.
What is the impact so far on the reduction of allotments that DOA has been giving you? Because, you know, from 4.4, from 9.2, that's a major impact. I'd like to know what has the impact been so far? In the past 5 months, you've only got 4.4 million, correct? And you should have gotten 9.2. And what has the impact been so far in the operation of GCC?
The college is continuing to offer all services to support our students.
You just continue to march and hope for the best, correct?
Absolutely.
All right. Wow. You're a strong lady. Good. Thank you for being the president and having a strong board with you. Okay, I'm looking at my questions. You know, just to let you know, Dr. Okada, I have the Office of Finance and Budget here. My staff is here, so they wanted to make sure that whatever's presented, because they're trying to find a way to make sure that GCC is funded. We try to eliminate certain of the obstacles that you've faced, because the last 2 years, I was trying my best to convince the OFB and everybody else to provide you funding. Lo and behold, I'm the guy in charge of it now. That's my focus, is to support education, find ways to support all the education institutions. But I'm also looking forward to, and we've discussed this about 2 years ago, the early middle college.
Yes.
And that I'm truly looking forward to, because there are, unfortunately, I'm not going to talk about DOE, but I honestly believe that if the students of our children on Guam went to high school and can graduate with an associate degree or credentials to join the market instantly, that's more powerful than just a diploma. I honestly believe that. Because like I think Mr. Topaz, you mentioned, you go anywhere, everybody talks about, I went to GCC, I went to the apprenticeship, I went there and there. They don't talk about anything else. Sure, they do brag about this high school they graduate, but the credentials that they obtain from the Guam Community College and all the other programs you have sticks out just a little bit more than just with the high school you've graduated. And have you submitted your quality report ready to the governor and the legislature of what's going on in the GCC? You know, you have a quality report requirement, correct?
The college is up to date on all its reporting requirements for boards and commissions. Financial reporting is posted and available on the GCC website. Information is also submitted to the Office of Public Accountability as required by law.
Okay. As you've been contacted by DOE or the now the Congressman, Delegate Nicholas, about, you remember we were looking at the property in Dededu, the 80 acres that were supposed to be switched from Marble site to the site closer to Dededu? And then I've asked then Delegate Madam Berdalio to seriously consider giving GCC 10 acres so you can build your middle college. And because Dededu, the northern end of the island is the biggest population. I honestly believe that if you build a middle college, which is another high school, you would fill that faster than any other school would fill, or any charter school will. Because right now the charter schools are almost set up the way you're set up, except they're at a lower level. And they would be the feeder school for your colleges, which right now DOE is the feeder school to you, and you're the feeder school to University of Guam. So I just wanted to find out, have you gotten any word from them, or do we need to request for more leverage to get you some acreage to build your northern middle college?
So we have not had any current conversations on that topic.
Okay, I'll bring it up with them then.
Sure.
Does any other senators have any other questions? If none, there's no other. Mr. Meade, did you want to say something else? Go for it, Barry.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to clarify something when I mentioned the LTAs. I was misled under the impression that the consolidated grant that is managed by GDOE, that GCC was not receiving those monies anymore. Not going to mention who mentioned that to me, but in light of that, I'll mention that the culinary program that was implemented at Ukadu was funded entirely from the consolidated grant, and a number of the LTA faculty are in fact paid out of from the consolidated grant. The consolidated grant, I administered that for a couple of years at the college, and it's always a question as to what or the amount you're going to get. It varied from $300,000 a year to $1.4 million a year. That money was also used to fund the Work Keys program. If you're familiar with the Work Keys program, when students at the end of their year take this exam and it puts them in a certain category as to whether or not they're actually prepared or ready to go to work. And I know the automotive folks and a lot of other students within the programs of GCC take that. So because, and as with the MDF also, we know that the amount of money was increased to put more money in the MDF, but with the ban or the loss of a lot of the H-2 workers, the MDF funds won't exist. So when I say that, my concern becomes, what happens when or if, and you know the GDOE is still under the oversight of, what do they call that guy, from the feds. What happens if the consolidated grant money goes away? And what happens if the MDF diminishes? Because MDF is used for, a lot of times, construction trade programs that Dr. Ray was speaking about. If that goes away, then how are those programs funded? They go away. So when you talk about putting people to work in the community like the president is talking about, you take that away. So it becomes imperative and incumbent upon the funding that is provided in this budget. Because a lot of the things are questionable whether they're going to be there every year. And to answer your question about the separation of funds, the ProStar separation came about with then Senator Pinko foregoing the middleman of GVB, because that money used to come from a grant from the GVB Community Activities Committee. And every year I'd get that grant. Well, he got rid of the middleman and gave it directly in the budget for GCC. That's how that came around. And it needs to stay, by the way. Sorry, Megan. That's what I want to say. The issue of people going from high school to college, a lot of our students are drafted by the employers that they work for when they do an internship. I did it. I drafted my intern to work for me way back when I first came here. And they do it continuously. They try and take them while they're still in school and get them to quit. Well, where this leads is the community needs to be on board with this too. For 20 years, I promoted the Contractors Association work with the college to employ all the students in our construction trades program. And do they? No. They hire H-2s. They don't even want to talk about it, as far as I'm concerned. Maybe the president, I know, has been working on some issues with that, and the Trades Academy is working on things like that. But local hire money stays on island, H-2 money leaves. So, and I'll tell you what I proposed to the former governor before he took office. Mandate that a company that wants to hire an H-2 employee from off-island must employ an apprentice through the GCC apprenticeship programs. Equal. one for one. And you know what? They wouldn't be in the problem they have today of trying to finish all these projects. We would be homegrown. But then the students will learn that they get paid triple what they get paid in Guam for their education. So they leave. But that's, thank you, Senator. I appreciate the second chance.
Thank you for that, that statement. I believe there's no one else that signed up to testify. Thank you, Dr. Okada. Thank you, Chairman Frank Ariola. We do look forward to finding ways to fulfill your wish of being fully funded. If not, at least close as possible, okay? We're going to try our best to figure out how we're going to do this.
You get your 19 million.
The Committee on Appropriation will conclude this budget hearing for Guam Community College. The Office of Finance and Budget will continue to receive testimonies for the next few days. Please address your written testimony to the Committee on Appropriation and submit it via email to Senator Joe S. @gmail.com. Si Zeus Masi for your attendance and participate in today's budget hearing. And for those at home, thank you for watching. Have a nice day. It is now 10:30. Thank you.